Hey, everybody.
Hey, Patrick. How are you?
Good, a little tired.
Oh.
I nailed that lesson this afternoon. I was so excited. You have no idea how pumped I was for that lesson. All right. I don't have a PowerPoint again this week, so I just worked on this. And I was studying and enjoying the quiet too, to be honest with you. It's good to see everyone tonight. Y'all must missed me because this is a pretty big crowd.
Yeah, 14 participants already.
I know. I feel kind of special. Oh, Benny's here.
You are, Patrick.
Benny's here. Uh-oh. Now I'm gonna get all intimidated. The end of the chapter started, I don't know, it just, after it talked about the different, well, not all the different ones, but the single subject designs that was listed in the chapter, I just stopped it there. Figured it'd be a whole lot simple tonight, just kind of going over those designs. All right. Looks like we are in good shape. Got a nice little crew tonight. No pressure. Wait till I get some more people.
What's up?
Yeah, see, we do got some fun people here tonight. We do. I don't need more people. I got you guys. You're right. I'm not worried about the numbers. I'm just worried about the getting it out. Thank you all for coming tonight. I really do appreciate it. Things have been kind of busy at work and kind of busy around here. That's why I kind of slowed down a little bit too. Tuesdays have kind of turned into, if anybody has a topic or whatever, 2 nights are getting kind of daunting. I really want to finish behavior analysis for lasting change because we're down to, including tonight, 9 chapters left. I skipped 24 because 25 had some good information for a welcome back. All right. They just keep coming in. Just give you kind of guys heads up why I've been so busy. I'm doing some professional development for work. I've been asked to create an online courses. That's really been taking a lot of my time, and I've been focusing on what is behavior, operational definitions that my staff can come together and explain for their potential or clients. And then we're going to look at data collection. I'm working on that one right now, just keeping it simple for staff to keep data. What's it look like? Why do we do it? And then we're going to finish the whole series off with an FBA. It's not as glamorous or as attractive as the PFA, but nonetheless, it's a system. It's a system. And then I got really inspired when Penny told me about I can't talk now. Melissa Miller. Please say I got her name right.
Megan Miller.
Miller. My brain's just gone today. But I was shouting her praises like all afternoon, and it was inspired off that podcast by Extinction. And to be honest, I got through most of it, but it was enough to get wow. So we talked about extinction, the pros and cons, and where it kind of leads, and when using it correctly, and how many of us really do view it. And it was really interesting where it kind of got, and then we got into the shaping and the differential reinforcement argument discussion. And then tomorrow I get to finish it off with a discussion about shaping, and let's teach skills, and here's some good ideas on how to teach skills. So I'm really excited. I think I probably took most of my energy was today and then tomorrow. So if I'm not my normal self, I would say hit me in the head, but it's kind of hard to hit me virtually here. But it's a great podcast. It's game changing. And if you haven't seen that one about Pat Fryman TED Talk, I know Penny, you posted it. Tons of people been posting it, and it's really, really cool. Really, really cool. It's amazing how behavior analysis can change your views on your clients. At least it has for me. Cool. Nice. He seems pretty cool. I'd love to meet him too. I would love to meet him. Of course, I'd probably be all like fanboy if I met Ryan O'Donnell in person. But it was just trying to give my teachers and educators, insight of the things that we hear and the things that we see. And it's just cool. There's no bad kids. And it really is true. When we look at, it's that's the cool thing about behavior analysis. We're looking at the behavior, not the person. And we're modifying the behavior, not modifying the person. And it just, when you break it down that way, and even extinction, we're not ignoring the person, we're ignoring the behavior, but we also need to teach a skill. And I think we get so lost in not teaching skills and ignoring the behavior, and it may go away, it may not. But you know what? Ignoring a problem doesn't make it always go away. But that was my take on her, and that was my big push today, was ignoring doesn't make problems go away. Because if that was true, I wouldn't pay my bills, they'd just go away and I'd be debt free. But that's not the case. All right, well, I'm gonna get going. I don't want to waste too much of y'all's time. I really do appreciate y'all being here. If you have time to see Megan Miller tomorrow in her little Zoom, I highly, highly suggest y'all make the time. I'll probably try to dip in for a little bit before I do my thing. But she has a lot of good stuff going on. Really, really cool. All right, so let's kind of get going a little bit here on chapter 25. Chapter 25 looked to me, yes, like a nice little review on, what did I do? press something. It looked like a nice little review to me for experimental design. That's what it kind of looked like. It didn't get too in depth. It just kind of compared identifying interventions with, what research design kind of fits in. So if I'm missing some key information that wasn't in the chapter, I'm just going to go ahead and apologize up front. But that's really cool. That is really, really cool. Making me jealous. Making me jealous. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 25 started off, it's basically identifying interventions with complex research designs. So it looks at some of our experimental designs, and it looks at how interventions, when you're graphing and you're collecting data, how they fit in and tie in. And it started out with preliminary considerations prior to adapting programs. And for me, this was a great review on internal validity and external validity. When you look at internal validity, we're looking at were the changes behavior functionally related to the intervention. We're looking at the intervention itself, whether there is a causal relationship from one variable to another in the form in which the variables were manipulated or measured. Internal means we're looking in the intervention and seeing how it worked. The behavior function according to the intervention. Did we control all those variables and those potential sources that can create problems? Internally, we're looking internal. And then we also want to consider our external validity. And that's kind of looking from the outside. Approximate validity with which conclusions are drawn about generalizably of a causal relationship to across populations of person, settings, and times. So internal validity, we're looking at the inside of it, the internal of our intervention, of our procedure, of everything. And on the external, we're looking at how it could be there's a relationship across populations of people and settings and places and times. In behavior analysis, we want to know whether the procedures had generality beyond the original set of cases to other people, behaviors, or settings. So when we do a intervention, when we do a study, when we do these things, we want to know if it has external validity and it can go beyond. It can generalize to other people, and then other behaviors, and then other places. And before we, I thought this was really cool. Before we buy or invest in a new curriculum, we need to feel certain and confident that that program would be exportable to other units of the organization. Oh, that was really cool because, we get so swept up in that latest crave, that latest flavor of the month. We learned about this, we learned about this, we found out about this, and that flavor of the month. But if I'm going to get into that, I need to invest and look at how it connects to other programs, how it affects to other parts of my organization and adopts to all my programs. That we all can agree PFA just touches so many different things, and it's not a flavor of the month. There's so many great things involved in it. When you look at ABLS or VBMAP or PEAK, if you're going to invest in one of those curriculums, you want to look at it and feel certain that it fits into the people and the behaviors and the settings of your clients you're working with. You want to collect, when it comes to external validity, you want to collect measures repeatedly prior to, during, and following intervention. And that also informed us of the durability of effect. When we collect data, before, we get a good baseline. We collect during, we know if it's working. And then if we collect data afterwards, that tells us that it's all over with and we have maintenance and we have generalization. Thought this was really, really cool. And I'm not trying to pick on anything or anybody, but will the changes in performance impact the bottom line? Like I said, these flavor of the month curriculums and flavor of the month ideas, we get so swept up on those things. And then we need to understand, does it impact the bottom line? Behavior analysts need to compare the net benefit of their interventions and to those achieved by ongoing methods in terms of how rapidly and how durably goals or standards are achieved, the cost of the investment, and other short and long-term benefits. We satisfy his concerns by collecting baseline, intervention, and maintenance data before, during, or after formally intervening. This was an example in the text, or I was trying to be funny with the picture here. If a guy learns dating skills, does that mean he's going to succeed and get more dates? You know, if I learn a particular set of skills, does that mean I'm going to be successful? So we want to make sure that our intervention is able to reach those standards and those goals and teach those skills that we're wanting to for the long term. It's not just, it's going to do more than what it says. The most stringent program evaluation methods incorporate scientific methods to address such validation questions. In behavior analysis, that means conducting careful within subject functional analysis. Those experimental designs and those functional analyses that we create help us determine that functional relation to help know that, hey, this functional relation was achieved. And we know the intervention had an impact on, and it had a change for our client or for the setting or for the subject or for the behavior. We need that functional relation. We need to know that there was a change happened for the better. And through our data. If I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. Am I going too fast, too slow? Okay. You guys are great. All right, the first experimental design that Mayer dipped into for this chapter was changing criterion design. The experimenter successfully changes their criterion for consequation, usually in graduated steps from baseline to a desired terminal level. Basically, we're setting a criterion. We don't want it to be too high. We don't want it to be too low. It needs to be perfect. And we're gonna, once we meet that criterion, we raise the bar again. Once we meet that criterion, we raise the bar again, and so forth. Our prediction and our obtained results verification, our POV, is obtained by responding, correlating with the new criteria after each criterion change. So basically, we make our goal. We're predicting that we're going to reach this new criterion. We reach that new criterion, and then we verify it, moving on to the next stage, the next criterion. If the behavior changed successfully at or close to the set criterion levels, experimental control can be demonstrated. So if we keep meeting that criterion level, experimental control can be demonstrated. The big thing that I put in here that I didn't see it in the chapter was the skill needs to be in the client's repertoire. We're building on that skill. If they have the basic set of skills in their repertoire, we're just building on each criterion. Shaping is great for novel behaviors. And that's not experimental design, but I just want to get you guys aware that changing criterion also looks at skills in their repertoire. I borrowed this from Rogue. They have just beautiful visuals. Beautiful visuals. Design baseline is optional, but it does give you a good idea of where to start, where to put that first intervention criterion level. I have some examples that I found that I thought was kind of interesting because the baseline helped determine where we would need to start at coming out of baseline. But then again, it is optional. The independent variable is gradually changed. Of course it is. We're changing the criterion as we keep meeting it. So as we meet it, the IV is going to change. It's going to change because we're going to expect more or expect less. Like I said earlier, the behavior must be in the repertoire. We're building on that skill. We're changing the criterion to increase the level of that skill. Enhancing experimental control by varying the length of phases and the magnitude of the criterion changes. Number of criterion changes and bidirectional change. I would come to say that, and I could be wrong, that the more criterion mastery you have, the number of changes also helps. The length of your phases as well helps show that experimental control. The visual feature are data points clustering just above or around criteria lines. That's a big selling point for me. If I had a look at a mock question and it told me pick the changing criterion design, I'm going to look for the graph that has the little dotted line in there that shows that the criterion was mastered and then moved on to the next one. That's my tell. It's a pretty big tell, but that helps me identify the changing criterion. Okay. I thought this was really cool, and I kind of wanted to share it the best that I could. I found these graphs, and this is what I said earlier. If you look at the one on the left, we have our baseline, and yes, it's decreasing, but their highest one was around the number of math problems completed. The best number of math problems was right under 5, probably 4. So we put 4 was their highest, and then when we started our treatment, shaping is with novel behaviors. Shaping or teaching new behaviors. So the answer would be no. I'm really excited about my shaping. I got just so excited about that. I just thought this was really cool. I really wanted to share it. When I look at these two graphs and how they set criterion levels, like I said, it looks like 4 was the highest number of math problems hit. So when we jump over to our first goal, it was 5. So we're hoping, that the participant can get 3 math problems in a row. Not in a row, but 3 out of, looks like 3 out of 4, and it was set at 5. 5 was mastery, was a criterion. So it was achievable. It was right above his highest performance. And then once he reached 5, then they bumped it up a little bit higher. And they bumped up a little bit higher. If you notice, there's that first one, it's, we weren't there yet. It's like the practice part, and then we got there. It kind of reminds me of a flow chart when you're teaching new, I want to say new skills, but when you're teaching skills and you just keep building, they hit mastery, then move up, hit mastery and move up. So there's always that dip in the beginning until they hit mastery. I just thought that was cool how they chose their criterion. Then on this one, we're trying to decrease. Not sure what, but we're decreasing something. So they base their initial criterion, if you notice, off their lowest levels of baseline. So they're keeping it within range. They weren't trying to go too high. They weren't trying to go too low. They were keeping it obtainable from the start. Mayer went on to say that, usually set at a specific point or level, like I said earlier, you don't want to go too easy and you definitely don't want to go too hard. If you do that, then we start to, it looks like we lost control. We have some performance issues. We just need to make sure we have that obtainable goal that isn't too high or too low. All right, now we're going to move on to multiple probe. I put the thing in for multiple baseline to review that. But Mayer was talking about how multiple probe design is also good for, plotting your interventions. What really helps me out for test questions, and I'm going to give more props to Todd because he's been my best study person. He just has so many great tips. Was when I look at a test question, and my question talks about you don't have enough time. Time is an issue. If time is an issue, we're going to do a probe. And that's really helped me a lot. Yeah, he is the man. This is 2 sessions in a row. I've given props to Todd. He's great. He really is. But his little tip really helped me out because when you probe, you don't have time. And when you're probing, you're trying to see what the client already has in their repertoire, what they already know, what can they already do. So multiple probe design, we have more than one, or we're trying to figure out the performances. So we're trying to measure what they can do. He's great. My OCD, I keep watching the chat. Yeah, our sessions with him aren't really recorded. I just study with him. Yeah, we don't record everything. Multiple probe design, according to Mayer, is data are collected only intermittently on other baselines. When we start the baseline, we're collecting data intermittently. We're probing the performance. Probe related performance during the main intervention by intermittently measuring those associated behavior or behaviors while they remain under baseline conditions. You want to apply multiple probes by providing learners with an opportunity, keyword there, opportunity based on time constraints to perform untrained responses, to ascertain whether the skills were being acquired or just changing by happenstance. So we don't have a lot of time. We don't have all the time in the world. So we have a short amount of time. So we're going to probe their performance during baseline to see what they already know or what they don't know. We don't want to roll the dice and see if there's a chance they may know it or the chance they may not know it. Horner and Baer suggested that such opportunities or probes be conducted by, it was in Mayer, happenstance is in Mayer. I got the spell check on it too. Horner and Baer suggested that such opportunities or probes by conducted initially on each of the training steps, again on every step in the training sequence after criterion is reached on any training step, then in a series just prior to teaching a particular segment. So I had a little fun and I thought I would come up with some examples. The one on the left is really from the book, but it made me think. You don't have a lot of time. There's that key word. I don't have a lot of time. And I want to probe to see what your skill set is. What can you do? What can you not do? So if I had to take those 3 things up top, that could give me a good probe on what you can and what you can't do. The book had a great example of computer applications. If I put a bunch of people in a room and I probe their computer applications, what do they know? What do they not know? We're going to see if they know how to turn on a computer. We're going to see if they know how to access a word processing program. We're going to see if they know how to open a file, type a paragraph, save the file, print the file. Or Progresso, the Progressive commercial, so we're going to show you how to probe a PDF. It's trying to be funny there. But we're probing. What can you do on a computer and what can you not do on a computer? Those would be some baseline probes. Then I started thinking, man, my son just went through a baseball tryout for his local league baseball thing. Bless his heart, they only have 2 teams and he's one of them. but he loves baseball and he's going to have fun anyways. He even told me that. I'm going to have fun. I know I will. So during his baseball tryout, let's stop and think for a second. What skills were probed during baseline? I mean, obviously they're not going to, collect data and see how the kids grew throughout the year and do sports statistics. I don't think the parents are that dedicated in league ball, but what skills they probe? Can he hit? Can my son hit the ball during the tryout? Yeah, we're from the South. Yeah. My oldest is actually really good. He never really had to ever try out. My youngest, he's in Louisiana, and yeah, the tryouts drive me crazy. I grew up in Kansas, and there was no tryouts. It was a rating system at the end of the previous season, and we took those rating system that we did, and we put all the kids together. So it's rolling the dice. You could have good or bad. And yes, for Christine shaping, multiple probe designs are used. Because if you stop and think about it, changing criterion, we're building on their repertoire. We're building on that skill. And multiple probe, we don't know what they know. We don't know what skills they have. So we're probing the skills that they know or they don't know. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It was pretty sad when his coach went to a different town from last year, but they probed his skills. There's a team in a high school in Little Rock. They're pretty serious about baseball, and they probe or have tryouts every year. All right, I'm going to try my best. I don't want to run through comparative analysis, but we are going to bring it up later on. You're really comparing the effectiveness of one intervention to another. An alternating treatment design is the best for that because you put in all those treatments, all those interventions, and you start to compare. You could do a withdrawal reversal, start to take them out to see which one was effective, start to unplug the interventions to see which one worked the best and which one didn't work as good. But we're doing a comparative analysis. We're comparing the effectiveness of those interventions. These are some facts here. Sequence effects, aka carryover. These are treatment conditions that may influence subsequent performance. If we're in treatment A and things are picking up, there may be a carryover into our next baseline. It's pretty much the same. It's pretty much because you're in a component analysis, you're comparing the different interventions or different components of the intervention of the treatment package. And in this one, this comparative analysis, we're comparing the effectiveness of the interventions, which one was the best. So I could see how they're kind of the same, but different in some ways. Multiple treatment inference is basically derived from the participant's history. If I took, for example, if I took a client who has been receiving services before, a component analysis looks at each component, each part of the analysis, which one, what made the intervention effective. A comparative analysis is pretty much like an alternating treatment design. We're comparing interventions as a whole, which one was the best, versus a component, we're trying to pick apart and see which part of our treatment was most effective. Multiple treatment and inference is basically there's a history. If I took a kid who has been receiving services before and he knows what to expect, that may hinder our subsequent treatment. He may know what's coming. He may know what to expect because he's received treatment similar before. So multiple treatment inference can play a part in the validity. I threw this in here, multiple baseline. It wasn't in the chapter. They referred to a little bit, but I kind of wanted to make sure that we reviewed not just multiple pro, but multiple baseline as well. There is no withdrawal, no reversal. Another tell, let me get a little bit bigger for you guys. Try to get a little bigger. The big tell for me is the multiple baseline. We have a multiple baseline with multiple participants. Let me move this down just a little bit. Once we have a stable state of a stable baseline, then we will start our intervention. Once we have a stable, it's stable in our intervention, then we'll start it again. It's stable, then we start it again. Yeah, it is. It's definitely a disadvantage because you have all those different treatments going on. Yeah, I could see that. I don't really have a favorite right now, but I can definitely see that. Thanks for the tip. Guys are great. The design feature for multiple baseline includes, like I said, there's no withdrawal, no reversal. And a withdrawal reversal, going back and forth from your baseline to your intervention phase. Yeah, definitely easy to use, and it's definitely across subjects because you have your 3 subjects and you bam, 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 it's right there. I did it in my paper for school. But we don't have a withdrawal reversal. We're not pulling the plug and then putting it back in and seeing the effects to determine our functional relation. We're looking at our intervention phase across those behaviors, across those settings, across those subjects, and we're looking at how effective our intervention was. It's highly flexible and easy to use, just like Penny said. It's probably a big reason why it's highly used in our field. Stability in baseline is necessary. We need stability in baseline. You don't need variability. You need stability. Time and cost is high. It requires a great deal of resources and delays the treatment because you're spending a large amount of time and cost. So I could see how the resources can be an issue. Vicarious reinforcement or spillover effects across subjects. The dependent variable must be functionally similar to and independent from each other. Our experimental control is replication across setting, subjects, and behaviors. Yeah, what's your question? Said because of the generalization piece. There's a generalization piece and alternating treatment.
No, I was talking about multiple baseline design, sorry.
Oh,
that
yeah.
it was preferred for that reason, but you mentioned that as well.
Okay. I don't understand how I could rock out experimental design on every mock I've done, but then my overall score. Okay. It must be functionally similar to and independent from each other. I'm not really sure. This is just what Rogue had. Can anybody help me out here? Dependent variable must be functionally similar to and independent from another. Is there a reason for that? Can someone chime in?
I can try to give an example. So like if we are doing multiple baseline design across behaviors, then we would make sure, now say let's for example, tantrums is the behavior that we want to design, use it in the design. So kicking, pinching. Now the behavior kicking is different from pinching. So they're functionally similar, but they both look different. So say like first you would be measuring kicking behavior. Second, you would be measuring pinching behavior. So does that help?
It's with regards to implementing the same IV, right? So you're implementing the same IV in different behaviors. So in order to do that, they have to be functionally similar. I can't have one behavior maintained by escape and one behavior maintained by attention and then hope to implement the same IV. It's with regards to the IV being implemented. Does that make sense?
It's a lot of sense. You don't want to have three different, totally different functions of behavior going on. You want to keep it the same function, relatively same response class behaviors.
Yeah, so you could have I smack to gain access to the iPad, I cry to gain access to the iPad, and I kick to gain access to the iPad. And I'm going to implement an IV, and that IV decreases the smacking. And then I'm going to implement it and see whether it decreases the kicking, and implement it and see whether it decreases the crying. So in that respect, the DV has to be functionally similar to implement the same IV.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks, Trudy, for helping out. Thanks, Penny, for chiming in too. The visual features here are also their tells. The staggered fashion, staggered fashion, and the stacked. That's a pretty big tell. They're stacked. The baselines are staggered, and the AB graphs are stacked. Those are pretty big tells that we have a multiple baseline. Weaker variations with the multiple probe we just talked about, and delayed. The one thing I kind of notice about multiple probe and multiple and delayed is because multiple baseline is it's so time consuming, and there's so much cost involved. I may not have that time. I'm not going to have that time with multiple probe and delayed. With multiple probe, I'm probing their skills, see if they already know based on the time that I have. And delayed, a participant comes in later. So I delayed that baseline to add that extra participant based on time constraints. And then here's some information about multiple probe and delayed multiple baseline. Like I said about delayed multiple baseline, what's so cool about it is limited resources are available, time is an issue, a new subject comes along, and we're going to delay that baseline to get them involved in our study versus having to start all over again with everybody involved. And then multiple probe, like I said, we're just during baseline, we're seeing what they already know, and that kind of sets the stage for our treatment. Okay. I guess since we've already said alternating treatment kind of sets the stage for our next design here. Has a lot of AKAs, has a lot of them. Multi-element, alternating treatment, simultaneous treatment, multiple schedule, or concurrent schedules. It's got a lot of AKAs. But the big thing is there's a lot happening. There's more than one treatment happening. There's more than one intervention happening. So of course we're going to have multi-elements, multi-treatment. Of course we're going to have alternating treatment. We're going to take turns on those treatments. It's just these names make a lot of sense. It involves repeated measurement of a behavior under alternating conditions of the IV. Scam. Okay, let me go down a little bit. I just don't know why, but I could catch on to experimental design, and it was one of my most scared of subjects for the longest time. Here's the rogue happening of alternating treatment. In the earlier chapter in behavior analysis for lasting change, and my notes and PowerPoint probably available, it breaks down different types of alternating treatment designs. Who would have thunk it? There's more than one alternating treatment design. How it switches up the intervention, then it finds the best intervention. Like this one right here is that one. I'm not really remember the name exactly, but in our intervention phase, we're comparing the two interventions, and then in the third phase, we started to stick with the best intervention, the one that worked the best. Yeah. Maybe it's why I'm a fact guy. I'm a fact and visual person. I got to see it. I don't want to interpret it. But I really like about when I saw that, and I really recommend you guys go back in the files and find the other experimental design chapter that really was experimental design versus this kind of just highlights a little bit of it. But I like that idea of we have baseline to see, we do our baseline, we involve those two interventions, and then our third is the most successful. Because at this point in the third phase, why would you keep alternating when you've already discovered which one's the best treatment, which one's the best intervention? And I like that. That's just kind of a personal thing, but I like that. It really, yeah. Silly has an awesome visual too, but yeah, she has a lot of great stuff. She's amazing. She is amazing. But I really like that because if I'm going to continue with the intervention, I need the one that was the most successful. I need the best one. But nonetheless, alternating treatment baseline is optional. Sometimes I actually prefer it because you do want to get a baseline of where you need to start at to where you need to go. Rapid alternating treatments. Treatment can begin immediately. It avoids the reversibility. We're not going to add the treatment and then go back. We're just going to keep on sticking with our different treatments. It avoids sequence effects and unstable data. Multiple treatment inference if treatments are not significantly different and failure to discriminate. I can definitely see where multiple treatment inference is a big problem, a big disadvantage, because if you have multiple treatments going on, the client develops a history with that treatment and it'll affect the next treatment. It'll affect the next design. Experimental controls having differentiation between the data paths and clearly indicating the best treatment. It may continue to be the best treatment independently in a new phase. It may continue. I think that'd be a great idea. Keep going because you've already discovered that's the best one to go. I pulled this to kind of, and this was my light bulb moment last year when I was studying, because experimental design, like, it drives me nuts. Well, it used to. But when I look at alternating treatment, alternating is my key word here. Yes, I have two different arrows, but on day 6, we're starting with treatment A. Day 7, we go to treatment B, and we alternate each treatment on each day. Once I saw that, it was a game changer. Bam, we're alternating treatments, and it lines up and it matches up perfectly on the graph. Here's some advantages for alternating treatment design. It's useful for analyzing complex behavior, and that they permit the effect of one or more IVs to be compared. Permits the variables to be compared within the context of more slowly changing background. Ullman and, I'm going to butcher those names, suggest some distinct disadvantages. It's appropriate for studying irreversible dependent variables. Its allowance for rapid emergence of distinctive effects, thereby allowing the evaluation to be concluded quickly. Its utility in circumstances of baseline variability that do not require baseline stability. And for the above reasons, it's readier acceptance by families and personnel. Disadvantages, sequence carryover, alternating effects, all refer to situations in which one experimental treatment influences behavior within other treatment phases. That would be a pretty big disadvantage for me. You had that multiple treatment inference, you had those carryover effects. What we learn in this treatment, we're going to carry over the next one. We've learned a lot just by going back and forth. And then, kind of dips around a little bit. Mayer he went back to component analysis. He went to component analysis. I think maybe I'm making it harder than it actually is. Component analysis and comparative analysis. But when I think of component analysis, I'm looking at the different parts of the intervention. And when I think of parametric analysis, I'm thinking of either turning up the dial or turning down the dial on my intervention.
If you like, Patrick, I can add on to it.
Yeah, please.
So when I have my allergies, I take Zyrtec and I drink mint tea and I take some concoction that I found at the CVS. All three I take at once and magically my allergies disappear. But if I then want to know which one was effective, then I either need to take one off or just take one and then see what happens. So then it might be the Zyrtec that's that is decreasing my allergies, or it might be the mint tea, or it might be X, or it might be 1 and 2, or it might be all three. But by doing a component analysis, I can find out, right? If I'm taking all three, I cannot figure out which one is decreasing my allergies. And with a parametric analysis, what I'm doing is I'm looking at dosage. So I can take 10 milligrams of Zyrtec, or I can take 15, or I can take 20 milligrams. So then I'm looking at one component, but different dosages.
Right. But yeah, your parametric, you're turning up the dosage or turning down the dosage to see its effectiveness. And then component, you're just seeing which component was effective.
Right.
Like you said, all those different medicines, that's beautiful. You got all these different medicines, I'm taking them all, but I need to know which one's working. So I slowly pull them each one away to see which one works the best.
Yeah, when I have allergies, that's exactly what I do, right? I change my shampoo and I vacuum extra and I take Zyrtec. I just do a whole bunch of stuff that I've been told in the past, but I have no idea which one's effective. I just do them all. But it would be smarter just to find out which one's effective.
Yeah, that would be really good. I always call it my juice box, but I have this one little Tylenol thing, and I probably should take the prescription part of it. I just like drink it and I start to feel better. Probably isn't the best way to go. It's probably a non-parametric, either figure out on or off. But that was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. And then it kind of stopped. It didn't really stop. I stopped it. It had Mayer had a beautiful part in the chapter where it talked about these different single subject designs, and just it really explained a little bit further. I can't remember what page exactly, but it was really beautiful how it discussed it. You guys have been a great audience tonight. This is probably the longest I've gone for a while. I don't have anything going on tomorrow night. I do appreciate y'all being here tonight. I really, really do. I'll be back in action next Monday, and hopefully when I get everything done with work, I'll try to, pick some more some more stuff going. If you guys want to teach, or there is a topic you're struggling with, there's a topic that you're really confident about, I really recommend you pick the topic that you're struggling with, because you'll come out on the other side of the mountain a lot more, knowing it a lot better. I've had when I've had to explain the topics I don't feel comfortable and are outside my comfort zone, I've been coming out ahead. Hence, verbal behaviors, Rudy, and experimental design to the crew that's already passed their test, because we went through that hard time. I mean, we went through it rough by ourselves, all three of us. And then you can ask Todd and Karen. Programming for generalization is my newest light bulb moment. It's tough for me, and having to iron it out and explain it. That's why I wanted so hard to explain to Penny's group on Saturday. When you explain those theories that you're struggling with, it really helps on the other side of the mountain.
And you did an awesome job, right? Everyone got it after your explanation.
Thank you, Todd. I'm gonna keep saying Todd.
Thank you, Patrick, right? Todd wasn't in the session, it was all you.
But if you guys want to, please let me know. Shoot me a message. We don't have to follow chapter by chapter. At this point, let's just have a good time and let's study.
Patrick, I really would like to add on to that, because people so often ask me, what do I have to do to pass the exam? But it really, really, really does help to do exactly what you're doing, right? To present, to defend. It's such a different level of fluency, and it takes people outside their comfort zone, but it's helped, right, Patrick? It makes you more fluent.
It really
Post
does.
vignettes.
It really does. All the stuff that I've done has built up my fluency. And then, right now I've reached a point where my fluency is getting really good. Let's build the application side of it.
Right. So awesome.
But it really makes a difference, guys. It really, really does. It really helps. And I've been doing more professional development at school and at work, and that's helped out. Because if I can't explain it to my peers, there's no way I can explain it to you guys. And that really makes a big difference. If you can explain the concepts and demonstrate them and talk them out with non-ABA speech, non-ABA jargon, you're going to get it. You're going to get
and also best to mess up now in such a small, comfortable group, rather than when you're standing there as a BCBA trying to explain it to an IEP in an IEP meeting. So better get over that fear now with a small, safe group.
Very true. Very true. Well, guys, I'm gonna let you all go. I appreciate y'all more than y'all realize, and you guys have a great night. And I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks, guys.